This is a video reply to Frostbit by Karma, video name You Won't Fail, Just Try. Alright, so there are a few things that need to get addressed to the point where I'm just gonna go ahead and let this be long form. I'm gonna tag you in it, but it's gonna be long form, alright? So, I feel like there are some elephants in the room, alright? Let's go ahead and do a little bit of a cleansing right here, right quick. Alright. So let's go ahead and talk about how much more potent my abilities have basically gotten. Alright? Now, you've gotten to witness it yourself. So now, to end up reaching the point where it takes me little to no effort to charm the smoke. Alright? So, most of the times when I do this alone. I do it as a form of self-soothing. I do it as a form of meditation. Even as I've said before, it's a form of gratitude for me too, because, hey, guess what? There have been too many times that I almost ended up dead, that I literally dealt with clinical death, like resuscitation. That I can't pretend it didn't fucking happen. And I can't pretend like the circumstances that happened are okay. Because when you got a bunch of people trying to gaslight you, telling you you're the source of your own problems, when meantime the entire circumstance that almost got you murdered was ending up being the fall person for a geriatric person committing fraud, that ended up pulling the wool over not one, not two, but 3 different religious institutions' eyes. And then trying to go ahead and weaponize said religious institutions to engage in criminal activity, while simultaneously acting like because they've got more numbers, that I'm going to allow them to not have to face legal accountability for their fucking hate crimes. Because keep in mind, oppression of civil liberties goes against the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Trying to go ahead and trying to force me to live here, to financially bleed me dry for a mortgage that I didn't fucking take. And to find out that I'm here because everything that was done by stealing my fucking identity and committing fraud. And to know that I've got the paper trail to fucking back that up. Well, for years. For example, you end up having people trying to use scare tactics, being like, you're gonna end up in prison, you're gonna end up in prison. Oh, when you get there, understand, people are gonna be like, paperwork check, paperwork check, paperwork check, paperwork check, paperwork check. To find out that not only is, number one, my paperwork in order, but number two, the discrepancies and the clerical errors end up corroborating my story as far as the embezzlement and misappropriation of funds that I ended up reporting, which ended up getting me protections under the Federal Victim Rights Act. Alright? And then being pissed off at me, knowing the factor of like, hey, you can't use manipulation tactics, like, for example, stealing my driver's license in an attempt to keep me here, to charge me rent, to go ahead and financially, economically stabilize yourself. Yeah, that goes against the Fair Housing Act, the same one that ended up getting put in place because of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So, understand something. That's the reason that going against that is a hate crime. Hate crimes have no statute of limitations. So, by trying to prevent me from being able to get a loan for a mortgage and actually purchase a house to, try to financially get everything you can out of me because of the factor of me getting a monthly residual. Yeah, no, you don't get to do that. And you think that you're not going to have to pay back all of it? No, you're going to have to pay back all of it. Ultimately, you thought that you were going to be able to intimidate me and try to, coerce a out of court settlement, because ultimately bringing the situation to court will end up going ahead and exposing your criminality and end up going ahead and bringing the situation from a civil matter, like you wanted to claim that it was, and expose the factor of it actually being a criminal matter, and me being the person that was defrauded. But apparently, knowing this, now that's a fucking problem, and now I know too much, I can't go. And it's like, oh, so kidnapping and abduction, and you also quite literally ended up helping to obstruct justice when the accident happened in December of 2022, which was attempted vehicular manslaughter and reckless endangerment. That ended up being a diversion to go ahead and obtain property under false pretenses, breaking and entering, as well as destruction of property. And apparently you should face no legal consequences. Why? So, needless to say, you got some pretty fucking delusional people here that thought they were going to try to psych me out and be like, oh no, you don't want to go to court because you've been to court way too many times throughout your life. People, ultimately the same thing's going to end up happening that ended up happening when you ended up facing prosecutorial misconduct, because a corrupt judge ends up going ahead and breaching my rights to due process by literally going ahead and having me locked up, by, instead of being like, you have been accused of da 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 da, because the person facing the judge has a right to know what they're accused of, has a right to know what evidentiary grounds that there are to actually have those accusations, and then go ahead and ask, what do you plead? Didn't do that. Literally just had me berated right from the judge's bench, and then had me just yanked away in handcuffs. Yeah, needless to say, that judge ended up going ahead and it got found out about a lot of people that she did the same fucking thing to, which that right there was also a form of defamation. Ended up causing loss of opportunity. There was also the circumstance of the attempted contractual entrapment and coercion of confession by that cop before that situation ended up happening, had me thrown into the psych ward and said, sign this contract or you'll never see the light of day. That's coercion of a confession, my dude. That right there is a breach of constitutional rights. Not to mention that, but that makes that confession unconscionable and voids it out. So, do you want to go try this again? Because I'm telling you right now, what you just did, you just engaged in attempted contractual entrapment, coercion, attempted to cause me to breach my own Fifth Amendment rights, right, protection from self-incrimination, Well, simultaneously, too, the facility that you ended up going in and saying that I would never leave if I don't sign that, yeah, now they've engaged in a crime, too, called the facilitation of that attempted contractual entrapment as well as coercion, making them a co-conspirator, which means that not only could I end up going ahead and, setting up a oppression of civil liberties lawsuit against your department, but now also against this mental health facility. So you get ungoofed big, dude. My question is, do you want to fucking walk it back? Like, do you want to try this again? Because I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to go down the way that you think it's going to go down. And then the same corrupt cops ended up getting pissed the fuck off about the factor that they wanted to have me gang listed. Alright, to have me put on a federal watch list. Alright? And with going ahead and having me put on that federal watch list, also attempts to coerce a confession again, as well as go ahead and engage in a relentless harassment campaign, and then be like, oh, don't snitch, don't snitch, don't snitch. I don't fucking need to. You invited the attention of the feds when you put me on that fucking watch list. Alright? So when you did that, you drew attention to anyone triangulating me. Alright? So the factor that you got caught up in your own fucking trap, you can't even say that I was out here fucking running your name through the streets. You fucking did that yourself. You were so fucking stupid. You thought you were setting a trap for me, and you literally trapped yourself. And then you want to go ahead and complain like ultimately it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me. No, it wouldn't have happened if you would have just accepted the factor that you're fucking wrong. Alright? And the factor that ultimately I've already had to suffer in ways that you would never fucking survive. You are a pussy in comparison to me. Alright? Like, for example, going ahead and saying that I was lying about my torture that I ended up surviving, and that ultimately I didn't end up getting fucked up, and, that literally there's no reason that I would end up actually having, to complain, and that ultimately it's just complete and total bullshit about, me actually getting injured. And it's like, no. Let's go ahead. Let's go run this back. Alright? And by the way, I want to let you know, the reason that I'm bringing this to your attention, you sent the invite. Whine, bitch, complain, get it all out. And then there's work to be done. Alright? I'm just saying, telling people that it was a dream, or a figment of my imagination, or that I'm having a mental breakdown, alright? While not wanting to face the situation in court, like it is inevitable to end up in, alright? Well, there's other places that wanted to go ahead and have me deemed crazy. There's one question that they want to avoid in that situation. You know what that is? If somebody is having a mental health episode and they have delusions of being tortured, alright? What psychiatric diagnosis comes along with physical incapacitation? Do you see the literal fucking dent in my skull? Yeah. That was a result of the fucking corruption and the brutality. But apparently they don't want to have to answer for what would be perceived as excessive force, because they had somebody else do it. Oh, so you commissioned a crime despite the factor that you're law enforcement? Yeah, I don't think that's what law enforcement's job is to do. Actually, I'm pretty sure law enforcement's job is to prevent people from commissioning crimes, not commissioning crimes and then going ahead and being like, but I'm a professional. And no, you're a corrupt piece of shit. You're not an official. You're a crook in a fucking costume. That's what the fuck you are. Why am I going to respect the authority of somebody who clearly does not deserve the very authority that they fucking grandstand on? Anyway, reason that I'm bringing this up to you is because the factor, quite obviously, there's been a long period of silence. Alright? Now, I want you to understand, partially by design, partially not. Alright? Because, number one, I always try to keep it courteous to your situation, you know? I mean, ultimately, you got your relationship, you got your kids, or kid, no, you said kids, but either which way, I didn't want to end up causing conflict within your personal life because you know you have a life when the camera turns off. All right. I didn't want there to be any misinterpretations. You know. When meantime, my reason for talking to you has been the factor of you're fucking weird. You're my kind of weird though. Like you're a good weird. You know. So ultimately, I just appreciate the conversation. I'd appreciate the back and forth, you know, the parasocial exchange. Well, simultaneously, it seems like automatically doing that ends up going ahead and causing conflict in one form or another. So I assumed, which I don't think I was making an ass out of myself on this, that when you ended up making that video to my guardian angels or something, all right, and you ended up referring to me and referring as like creepy and all this shit, I'm like, okay, so that's how you feel. Don't worry, I'm gonna take my creepy ass on, and you ain't gotta worry about shit. Like, have the day, you know, have the life you deserve. Go on. Consider it done. So, ultimately, the factor that you ended up coming across on my algorithm actually kind of surprised me. Because, like, was that intentional? Was that not intentional? Either which way, the point that I was making on the whole thing was, yeah, I assumed a boundary was set into place by going ahead and calling me creepy and shit like that, you know? And ultimately, I sat back and, you know, thought about my part in things. And let's be real, if I was somebody else on the observer perspective, seeing some weird motherfucker going ahead and manipulating incense smoke in a way that people usually aren't capable of doing, and being like, you know, hey, I keep thinking of that character from Mad TV, Stuart. Look what I can do. I'd find it pretty fucking suspicious myself. So it was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it easier for both of us. I'm gonna make it just easier for everybody. All right, and I'm gonna just sit the fuck back, do what the fuck I do. People know what the videos are about. I go ahead and put my commentary in for the people that actually like my fucking commentary. And the people that don't like my commentary, they could just hit a fucking mute button and watch the wonder of, going ahead and figuring out how go ahead and control the fucking direction of a state of fucking matter while not using any type of video editing to be able to actually get the desired effect. You know? And at that point it's like, listen, just just enjoy the object permanence or the lack thereof, you know? At this point, just enjoy the factor that you're capable of feeling astonishment and just enjoy the fucking show. Or enjoy the commentary because you got some fucking opinions on life, and my opinions on life end up going ahead and, help you be like, listen, I didn't want to sound like a bitter fucking douchebag, but I've observed the same shit and I feel the same fucking way, and, I didn't say it, you said it, I didn't say it. Some people, that's just the position in life that they're best suited for. And usually that's the person that ends up needed by the people that have basically been shut up and had to deal with past progressive assholes who keep trying to, in one form or another, figure out ways to try to silence or control your, fucking narrative. But with that being said, I'ma just wave this the fuck on. Reply to the video. And if you actually want me to go ahead and engage again, I'd be willing to. But you know what? I'm not going to do a vagueness. So if you want me to engage again, tag me in a video. Tag me being like, this video is to address you. Alright? Even if it ends up being like, I'm taking this video to address you. You really do come off like a creep. Fuck you. Yeah, I don't give a fuck if you engage with my content or not. And which my response would be like, cool. Deuces.